In this video, I'm going to transform this boring village into something awesome. Before our journey could continue today, I got to work trading some wood for some mending books. 1, 2, 3 more mending books. Since we left off with making this skeleton XP farm to help with getting the perfect enchantments, now with the addition of mending, we've got some pretty perfect tools. And I was going to need these tools because I spent a whole day just collecting blocks for today's project. Now that I had Silk Touch, I could easily get a lot of stone, but the Efficiency 5 definitely helped out too. And now that I've made all these preparations, it's finally time we start chapter 5 of this story. The day is finally here. Today's the day that we're actually going to finish the wall. Today is the building episode, and I want to build up this entire area. I no longer want to live in a tent. It's time to get some actual buildings around here and stop just leaving my chests laying around all over the place. But objective 1, it's time to finish the wall. As a point of reference, here's how things were looking to begin with. Besides this one section of wall, nothing was built up at all, and it was definitely not impressive. But I'm hoping by the end of this video, that will change. Now, fortunately down here, I have a ridiculous amount of stone, and I got it by using my Silk Touch pickaxe to strip mine in a whole bunch of areas. All right, so let's just get straight to it, and immediately let's just lay down the blueprint for these walls. I'm just going to do all the planning and the outlining, and then we can start building it up and making it look good. So we have a very basic outline of where the wall is going to be. I still need to plan out where I want to have a few more entrance ways to get out of these walls. But there's one thing. Today I'm meant to be transforming this village. So I think it's important that we extend this stone wall around this village as well. So now I have where I want all my walls to be, and I have quite a large territory mapped out, but there's one thing that's worrying me. I already used a large majority of my stone. This is going to take so much more material than I was ready for. All right, but let's load back up on stone, make some more stone bricks. And our next job is going to be quite clear. Now I just want to build up all my walls. And then once I've built a good solid foundation, we can start decorating the walls and making them look good. Have you checked to see if you're subscribed recently? You may watch my videos all the time and not realize you're actually not subscribed. And if that's you, please consider clicking that red button. It tells YouTube you like this content, and it's a completely free way to help me out. All right, yeah, let's get back to the montage. The beginning of this wall was quite straightforward, but almost straight away I ran into an issue. Alright, this is all the stone I have left. And it wasn't until using up the rest of my stone on the other side of the river that I realized just how ambitious I was being with this build. Alright, I'm completely out of stone, but here's where I'm at so far. I've done a little bit here, and it's all across this side, which I've done majority of it. But of course, we're going to need a ton more stone to get this done. And you can see this is gonna look super cool when it's done, but it's never gonna be done. All right, I guess I'll just go back to using 0 brain cells and just digging for stone. There's nothing else I can really do. With no other option, I went back to mining for stone, and a lot of it. At this point, I've committed to making this build look amazing, and I'm not going to back down now. I have been hard at work, and I've now filled almost 2 double chests full of stone. And now I don't know if this is going to be enough, but let's just take our stone and let's go build up the wall some more. Now here's the thing. I think I want to have the wall all at the same height. So although this wall looks quite short here, I want it to all stay at this level as it goes around here. So I need to build this up quite a lot. And another thing we can start doing is start getting rid of these blocks on the inside here, which aren't visible from the outside. That way we can start saving material. So that took a lot of stone, but you can see that's the level I want the wall to be all the way around. It's gonna look so awesome. So while I get to work building my wall to the desired height, I think now's a good time to say, although we're only just getting started, it took a lot of hours of effort to just get to this point. And we've got a lot more to do today. I'm starting to realize this may just be the most insane build I've ever tried to do. On the one hand, I'm really excited because looking at this, I can see my vision is finally starting to come to life. But on the other hand, I know there's still a ton more work to do. Now, speaking of work, I've already started to decorate the wall. You can see I've even added another entranceway here. So to begin with, I'm just going to add the basic details, I think, to the entire wall. So let me break that down. In the sections where the wall gets taller here, I've decided to flare out the bottom of the wall a little bit. To me, it makes sense since the wall should technically need a little more support in the parts where it's taller. And the other thing is I simply just need to add some spruce logs to the corners of each of my towers, which is super easy. So now at the top of this wall here, I do a layer of spruce stairs, and down where I have this level change down here, I just add in some blackstone actually, and that's pretty much it. So now my plan is to just go around the entire wall and add these very basic details first. Again, don't underestimate these walls. Just adding these very minimal details, it took me well over 2 hours to do the entire wall. But the hard work is definitely paying off, because as you can see, the whole area is looking so much better than where it started. I am super impressed with how things are looking, especially this angle where you see the giant wall behind this whole village. But obviously there's still a lot I need to do, like so much. Right now I need to add some more entryways. I'm gonna start by adding 2 on the walls over here, and I'm just gonna copy the same entryway design I've done for all my other entries. We're just gonna dig out a hole in this wall and make an archway in it. I'm not sure what this nitwit is doing, but if you know what, you belong in the wall now. Things were going well when all of a sudden a storm came along and something incredible happened. Okay, it was just storming, and well, this is cool, I guess. Wait, no, don't kill the horses. Please stop killing the horses. Stop. Stop. No. Oh, we have 2 skeleton horses now, I guess. Isn't this like strangely rare? Skeleton horses aside, this is my final little entryway to the wall. But it's like a little side exit, and I think it works well. But now we've built all the walls. We've done all the minor details. It's finally time we got onto the rest of the details, like adding all the towers and details into the wall to make the whole wall look interesting. So the first thing I think I'm gonna do is come along and do all my towers. So where I have these marked out, I need to figure out how to build these again. So now, besides some even more minor details, like sprinkling in some cobblestone and some fences and doing a flag, that is how we do a tower. So now, I just need to go ahead and repeat that process about 20 more times. This is starting to look amazing, and I feel like a broken record, but there's still so much more to do. As you can see, our walls were still very blank, but we can easily fix this with a few changes to add more detail. Firstly, adding in some fences and stairs into the side of the wall, then adding some more deep slate in the bottom half of the wall, and mixing in some cobblestone randomly to help give the wall more texture. I've now gone around and cobbleified this whole area, and from a distance you cannot even tell the difference, but it's fine. I'm just gonna tell myself that was all worthwhile. Then I started adding in some trapdoors for a bit more color, and to make the top of the wall more interesting now, I added a couple layers of stairs with differing materials, and now our wall looks much more finished. And now I've gone over every small detail that's going into the finished product of this wall. But there's one small problem, and I hate to admit it, but just doing this section of the wall took me about an hour. So just imagine how long all of this wall is going to take. But looking at the before and after, I'm hoping you'd all agree this is time well spent. There's no way. How do I keep finding these things, man? How? Stop killing the horses. Stop. This is actually absurd. Aren't these like super rare? This is the second lot of these I've found today. Get the horse inside. I now have a total of 6 skeleton horses roaming around inside my walls now. Oh, and in other news, my wall is looking all right, I guess. It's getting there. The wall is complete. All I have to do now is add flags to the top of every tower. Like, look, this looks incredible. I'm so happy with how this looks, but I am in so much pain. It has just been multiple days of building this thing. Like, I don't know what to say anymore. This is all I've done over the last few days, is just place blocks. And if you're wondering why this video has taken so long to come out, it's because, well, just this. Okay, there's no way I'm doing all the buildings today. At one point in my brain, I was gonna fill this entire area with houses and buildings, but I think I'm just gonna stick to maybe just a handful of buildings to begin with. But one day, that's the promise. One day, this entire thing will be packed with individual little buildings and alleyways and streets. And this is why I started over. This was the vision all along. I'm excited, but also so exhausted. So anyway, I've been slowly over time collecting some white wool because I knew I would need a lot for these flags. Let's get a bit more and let's make a start. So I got to work adding a bunch more flags. And although I'm still unsure if I like these flags, I am really excited to finally be able to say, after multiple days of hard work, the wall is finally finished. And it's made a massive difference to how everything looks. But you haven't seen anything yet. So far, all I've experienced is emotional pain, but what's about to come next has caused me days of actual physical pain. So please just subscribe. I actually pushed myself to the physical limit just for this build. And trust me, you're gonna wanna see how it turns out. So it's time to finally start the second act of this video, which is doing the buildings. To start with, I just wanted to clean up this area with 3 buildings. A storage room, a normal house, and a library. That way we would no longer have to leave stuff laying all over the place. All right, well, I think the first building I'm gonna do is literally just gonna be right here behind my chests and stuff. So to start things off, let's just flatten out the area a little bit. This is gonna be one of our larger buildings that we make. So I've mapped out here the floor plan for this build. And here's the thing, I haven't fully imagined my design of the houses for this village yet. I'm thinking maybe like a 2-layered thing, bottom half stone, top half mostly wood. And with that basic idea in mind, I just started building. So this is our start. Now I gotta kind of figure out where I wanna go from here. So let's start by tearing up all this dirt and putting in an actual floor. Although I'm definitely more concerned with the exterior of this build, I feel like I've got a fun little floor plan here with a nice little sunken in pit here in the middle. So in this rectangular section in the middle here, I'm gonna add a second story. And here's where things maybe get a little funky, but I wanted to try using deep slate for the roof. Maybe deep slate tiles might be nice. I feel like I like that, honestly. And honestly, this is kind of weird, but I have more of a vision for the roof right now than I do the rest of the build. So I'm just gonna carry on. Let's finish off this roof. Let's make it look good. To begin with, I filled in the entire roof with just blocks. But if I've learned anything about building in Minecraft, it's that you can easily improve any build with variety. So I mixed in some stairs and some different blocks for texture, and that's what made this roof really look good. Quick update, the roof is now finished. Now I really just have to move on to like the walls. Again, using the rule of variety, I used a mixture of stone blocks randomly in the wall, which ends up looking far better than just using one kind of block. And then on the outside, I used some stairs, slabs, and trapdoors to decorate. And it's these finer details that end up being the most time consuming for me, as I'm constantly changing and trying different things to find what I like best. So I kind of messed around and just finished the entire building from the outside, and I think it looks all right. I'm not in love with the block palette, but I think it does a good job. But the problem is we've done the outside, but the inside is still yet to be done. So this is meant to be our storage room. So let's quickly decorate it. I don't know what came over me, but I pretty much just went full focus mode. And well, I've pretty much decorated the storage room now. All I gotta do now is move all my stuff into these chests. And now finally I can have all my stuff nice and organized inside. And my chests aren't just gonna be laying around on the ground outdoors. All right, objective 1 complete. We no longer have our chests laying around all over the place, and we have built our first building. Now, obviously this building is pretty big, and I think it's gonna be one of the biggest buildings, if not the biggest, that I have in this area, because by comparison, this kind of makes my walls look small. I think it's finally time we said goodbye to our tent. It served us well, but we are too far in our journey now to still live in this tent, so it's time we took it down. And now it's time we got to building number 2. For this next building, I wanted to make a library. And unfortunately, I became so focused on the build that I forgot to provide any kind of commentary. But all the houses I build in this video follow a similar blueprint, starting with framing the walls and the roof, and then filling in the roof and the walls, and then finally going around creating all the finer details. This video has to be all over the place, man. I keep going into like hour-long hyper-focused sessions where I can't commentate because I'm so focused on just playing around with the smallest details and trying to get it to where I like it. Saying that, I still haven't done the inside, but this building is my library. So now I need to go ahead and decorate it like a library. And I can't forget the most important reason for building this entire thing was to have a better place to put my enchantment table. And after a while, my library was complete. We've got the counter for you to hire out books. We've got our enchantment table at the back. And behind here is where the librarian lives. And I'm serious about this. I actually want a librarian to live in here. I'm going to use that mending villager I got at least a couple episodes back. Hello, Mr. Mending. It's time I gave you a brand new home. All right, come on, let's go, let's go, let's go. Come on, I didn't spend hours building this for you to not want to just check it out. Why don't you, yeah, that's it. Why don't you follow me? Let me show you around. That's it, yeah, so welcome. This is your new place. Oh, he immediately was disgusted and walked out. Where are you going? Please don't tell me you're trying to go back there. Please stop, please stop. No. Please stop. I then went on to build another house and I didn't record a single bit of it. I have another update. I was messing around just trying to figure out how to do just a smaller generic house. And here's just one of the things I came up with. As you can see, this thing is tiny. I mean, it's empty and will probably stay like that forever. This isn't meant to be an important building at all, but it still looks good and it fits the theme. But now I want to build a building that actually does have a purpose. I now have a storage room, right, where I can keep all my stuff, but I don't really have a place for all my furnaces. So this smaller building off to the side is going to be for all my smelting needs. Now, when you have a long roof like this, it can look pretty boring. So the little thing I like to do to break it up is add in some little triangle windowy bits like so. Now, that's my roof finished. Now we can move on to the rest of the build. I went on to make a giant furnace with lava inside and a chimney out back to go with it, which is one of my favorite details so far. And then after filling the room with actual furnaces and chucking some smithing equipment outside, we had finally finished another building. Now, at the beginning of this video, my home looked like this, and I had the goal of tidying everything up by building specific buildings. And now, as you can see, it's made such a huge difference. And I was thinking this would be a great spot to end the video, but then I remembered the other goal I had. In this video, I'm going to transform this boring village into something awesome. So this video won't end until I've achieved that goal too. This is where things really got ridiculous. I realized I promised I would transform this village in this video. Everything on this side of the river is going to be completely transformed. And you know what? Honestly, I think a pretty good place to start is just demolishing this entire village. This is honestly so satisfying. Destroy everything. And just like that, this house is no more. Guy's wondering what I've done to his shop right now. I'm sorry, man. I'm renovating. So now that I've completely demolished every house around here, we've got pretty much a clean slate for us to do whatever we want with this area. So I think what's going to happen now is a bit of a planning process. Before I build any houses, I want to plan out like my pathways and like maybe do like an outline of where every building's going to be. The cool thing about this village is that it was basically in the middle of a river, and I wanted to embrace that in my plans. Having houses coming right up to the water, I thought that would look really cool. And after spending some time thinking and drawing out my ideas, I felt it was finally time to start making it come to life. All these houses are going to be a lot smaller than anything I've built over on that side, so it's going to be interesting to see how I can build these and if I can still make them look just as good. By now you should get the idea of how I build these things. All these houses will use the exact same blocks and techniques, just scaled down to make them smaller. But as you can see, they still look just as good. But there's no time to stop and stare. We've still got at least another 17 houses to build. I just finished what I think will be my favorite building of this whole village. It's really uniquely shaped and it kind of blends like two separate buildings into one. And since I really want to let this building breathe and get all the attention it deserves, I think I'm gonna get rid of this building, or at least make it much smaller and way more out of the way. And then by comparison, this one will just look much bigger and cooler. It's absolutely no secret that to build this many houses, it requires a lot of materials. And there were countless hours I had to spend behind the scenes collecting blocks that you don't get to see. So it's important to mention that over the next 3 or 4 days I worked on this build, I had to go back to digging for blocks multiple times. Day 2 of transforming this village. I was still focused on building more houses, and I was doing my best to make each of them unique in their own way. However, one of my biggest regrets for this build was not using more variety in blocks. I do feel it got a bit repetitive, but I was under a fair bit of time pressure, so I just stuck to blocks I could easily get a lot of at the time. And after another 4 hours of grinding, we now have another lot of houses in my village. So coming up next, I'm actually really excited. We're about to do all the houses that are mostly on the water. Let's start off by just filling in this entire area with some spruce. Obviously later on I'm gonna have to give this a bit more attention to make the boardwalk actually look nice, but for now, just so we have a foundation to build upon, let's just fill this in. The most painful thing of this whole project has been running back and forth to all my different chests. Like having all my stuff here was fine when all the houses I was building was around this area, but now I'm nowhere near here. So let's take a look at how much we have left to do. I know I've got like 1 or 2 buildings next to the gate over there I want to build, and then it's just doing this area. Finished my second day strong, completing the framing and roofs of most of the houses I had left. which meant I had a really solid head start on day 3. We are getting closer and closer to being done with this. I've started by building like the shell of multiple buildings here. Now I still have the long job of individually finishing these off. So now that I've done all the roofs of all these buildings, it's time to do the longest part, which is all the walls. And the reason this takes so long is because I spend so much time just just thinking and trying to make sure that they all look unique in some sort of way. There's only so many ways I can use the same blocks to make a different looking house. The third day of transforming this village was the most exciting because on the third day, we were going to finish every house. I have finally finished the entire lot of houses I started on this side of this village. Now, this village still needs a lot of work on all the details that aren't the buildings. As you can see, it's pretty ugly around here. But before I do that, there's just a couple more buildings I want to add. Now, here I wanted to have a stable for some horses. So here's the general shape of this horse barn that I'm going to build, but I don't want it to have the same block palette as the other buildings. I don't know why. I mean, I've done everything else the same, but now I want to experiment for some reason. All right, how do I feel about this roof? I don't love it, to be honest. Although this stable may look quite basic from the outside, it actually ended up being one of the more intricate interiors I did. So now I've got 3 separate little stables for some horses. I figured let's just go grab a few and park them in here. All right, skeleton horse, I can take you off your lead now. I've got a better place for you to live. There we go. 1 horse secured. All right, where's my other skeleton horses? I know there's more around here. There you are. Riding through this village on horseback is actually so cool. Now, I don't want to take only skeleton horses, so instead I want to take this horse because it's been living with me in these walls for a long time. I think it's about time I tamed it. It's a stubborn one. Oh, it's stubborn. And that's 3 horses in my stable. But it doesn't end there. I think I want to add a few extra little stables to the side here as well. I can't deny this thing is ugly. Oh god. Oh, after 3 straight days of only building houses, we finally had no more houses to build. I made sure to put a bed in every house and gave my villagers some food, so hopefully one day this entire village will be populated. But my story doesn't end here, because we still have one final day. So now that I've built all the houses, it's all about making minor improvements to improve the whole thing. And the first thing I realized is that some of these roofs are a little uninteresting, and we can definitely fix that. A roof like this one, for example, there's 2 things we could add. One is adding another little window section. See, that's simple, easy, and it breaks it up a little. The other alternative is adding a lot more chimneys to these builds, because there's only 1 house in this whole village that has a chimney. How did an iron golem get up here? I'm sorry, what? So now I've gone around and finished adding all the extra details to my roof, but next up, I definitely need to focus on the ground. My pathways and everything, it's a total mess right now. So let's start off with this boardwalk. I'm going to start off by just filling everything in with some spruce wood, and then I can start working on the shape and the detail of everything. I realized if I wanted to have a village on the water, I would need to allow boats to move around. So I built this bridge to allow us to cross over, but still let boats go underneath. There was another thing I was kind of unsure of, which was these posts. What if instead I just did that? I'm not too sure. I can't make up my mind about this, but that did give me the idea to maybe just put in some posts in between. Maybe I'm just second guessing everything, but I feel like there's too much spruce in this whole area. All right, I'm gonna replace some of this with just oak and see if I prefer it. Then we can mix this up with oak stripped logs as well. The oak boardwalk was a much needed change, but it became a big problem when I then had to change it absolutely everywhere. But it felt amazing seeing the whole build come together, knowing that I was almost done. The boardwalk is now complete, and I am really happy with how it turned out. Now on to the final steps. I went around and added some gravel and andesite paths connecting my entire village, which turned out looking pretty good. But then I felt our village was lacking something. So with some leaves and bone meal, I went around and added some much needed green to the build, which helped a lot, but we could go a step further. I added a few different crop farms between houses, which was a great way to fill awkward spaces and give them more purpose. A month ago, this village looked like this, entirely unimpressive. But after all my effort over the last few days, this was the transformation. I pushed myself to the limit to finish this build. After playing 10 hours straight, 3 days in a row, my hands ended up aching for a few days after. So if you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing. I put almost 100 hours of effort into this video, and it only takes you a couple of seconds to press that button. This build ended up being one of the best that I've done in this world, but the best part is, it still has the potential to get even better.